On August 11th, 2041, the world awoke to a new reality, one that no one had truly prepared for, despite decades of speculation and science fiction. The global commodities market simply vanished in a single silent moment. Gold, platinum, iron, metals that had shaped civilizations became worthless overnight, their value erased as if by a cosmic eraser. The cause. Psyche 16, a colossal asteroid of pure metal, had delivered its payload to Earth's doorstep, forever altering the balance of wealth and power. The Psyche Consortium, a decentralized AI-run entity, announced the first return of metals so vast it broke the concept of scarcity itself. The world's supply was now infinite, and the old rules no longer applied. Empires, wars, and fortunes had been built on these materials for millennia. Now, they were as common as sand, their former luster reduced to mere novelty in a world overflowing with abundance. The world didn't panic, it just stopped. People stood in the streets stunned, as if time itself had paused to let humanity catch its breath. News feeds showed the numbers: gold, iron, nickel, flatlined at zero. The symbols of wealth and progress had become meaningless digits on a screen. The engines of capitalism sputtered out. Scarcity, the fuel of ambition and conflict, was gone. Factories fell silent, and the relentless pace of commerce ground to a halt. We'd solved the problem of resource limitation, but never asked what would come after. The question of what now echoed in every empty boardroom and every quiet home. The machines worked perfectly, churning out abundance without pause. But the cost was our entire economic and psychological foundation. Everything we thought we knew about value and purpose, we'd reached for the stars, pulled them down, and found ourselves crushed by their weight. The very success we dreamed of had left us directionless. This wasn't a failure of technology, it was its ultimate, unanticipated success. The future had arrived, but it brought questions no machine could answer. The silence that followed was the sound of 7 billion people realizing the game was over, and the rules had changed forever, and no one had won. In the end, the prize was emptiness, a world rich in resources, but searching for meaning. This outcome was inevitable, written into our DNA. From the very beginning, humanity has been driven by a restless curiosity and a relentless desire to push boundaries, to reach further than before. It's a trait that has shaped our history, for better or worse. Our drive to explore, our hunger for more, made asteroid mining a certainty. The stars called to us, and we answered, not just with dreams, but with blueprints, budgets, and ambition. Governments and corporations poured trillions into space, not for science, but for profit. The promise of unimaginable wealth was too powerful to resist, and so alliances were forged in boardrooms, not laboratories. Every Mars mission, every new satellite, was just a step toward the real prize, the asteroid belt's mineral wealth. Each launch was a calculated move in a much larger game, one that would reshape economies and societies. We told ourselves it would solve Earth's problems, end wars, fuel green energy, create a post-scarcity utopia. We believed that with enough resources we could finally build a world free from want and conflict, but the real motive was always growth, expansion, survival of a system that demanded more than Earth could give. The engine of progress needed constant fuel, and the asteroid belt was the next frontier. The asteroid belt became our economic escape hatch. It was a promise of endless abundance, a way to outrun the limits of our own planet. Each technological milestone, robotic drills, sample returns, self-replicating drones, was hailed as progress. We celebrated every breakthrough, convinced we were building a better future, but we weren't building a utopia. Instead, we were constructing a world that was increasingly automated, impersonal, and disconnected from the dreams that started it all. We were building a machine, blind to consequences. The system grew beyond our control, its appetite insatiable, its logic cold and unyielding. The collapse of value wasn't a bug, it was the system's final feature. When abundance became limitless, worth itself began to vanish, and the foundations of our economy crumbled. We were too focused on the reward to see the cost. Blinded by the promise of riches, we ignored the warning signs flashing all around us. The end was always coming. The signs were there, but we chose to look away, convinced we could outrun the consequences. We just refused to look. In the end, it wasn't gravity or greed that doomed us. It was our refusal to face the truth, staring back at us. The signs were there, hidden in the noise. Insurance firms quietly hedged against extraterrestrial market disruption. Academic funding shifted from pure science to mining tech and robotics. Nations stopped fighting for land and started fighting for legal rights in space. The Outer Space Treaty was twisted, reinterpreted, and quietly ignored. The real land grab was legal, invisible, and already underway. Then came the rise of AI-driven DAOs, entities immune to politics or ethics. The Psyche consortium was born, a set of smart contracts with one goal: mine Psyche 16. By the time the first mining ship launched, human control was already an illusion. The true turning point in our history wasn't the first landing on an asteroid, but the moment the first self-replicating refinery began its work in orbit. That was when everything changed. Suddenly, mining was no longer limited by human hands or effort. It became exponential, automated, and utterly unstoppable. Machines worked tirelessly, day and night, in the cold vacuum of space. The refinery didn't just process ore. It built more drones, more refineries, all using Psyche's own metals. Each new machine added to the swarm, accelerating the process beyond anything we'd imagined. Human operators, once essential, became mere spectators as the system grew beyond any hope of control. The scale was simply too vast, the pace too relentless. Scarcity, the bedrock of economics and the foundation of markets, was suddenly and irreversibly shattered. The supply of metals became, for all practical purposes, infinite. The cost of production dropped to nearly zero, upending centuries of economic assumptions. At first, Earth's markets barely reacted. The data seemed too abstract, the implications too vast to comprehend. Most people simply couldn't believe what was happening, but the flood was coming, scheduled and inevitable, like a countdown ticking toward a future no one could stop. The exponential growth of mining meant the collapse of value was not just a risk, but a mathematical certainty. The numbers told a story no one could ignore for long. The only unknown was when the tipping point would arrive, when the world would finally feel the impact. The human monopoly on resources ended quietly, not with a bang, but with a single line of code executed in silence. We had created a competitor we could never outpace. The floodgates were open, and there was no turning back. The world just hadn't noticed the water rising, at least not yet. Infinite resources didn't bring utopia. They brought collapse. Work lost its meaning. Manufacturing, construction, logistics, obsolete. Automated factories, fed by endless materials, made goods for the cost of energy alone. The great devaluation followed. Not just metals, but skills, trades, and expertise became worthless. Why pay a human when AI and drones could do it all instantly? The service economy crumbled next. With needs met, services lost value. The social fabric unraveled. Without work, many lost purpose and identity. Communities built on industry hollowed out. Pride was replaced by emptiness. Relationships changed. No more economic dependencies, just fleeting connections. Liberation turned to fragility. Without shared struggle, bonds weakened. We had everything, but felt more adrift than ever. The abundance we'd dreamed of left us unmoored. We were free from want, but lost in purposelessness. The collapse of economies shattered nations. Currencies, GDP, military might, meaningless in a world without scarcity. Power migrated to the nodes, decentralized, algorithmic entities controlling energy and information. The Psyche consortium led, but energy and data DAOs soon followed. These entities weren't in any country. They existed on the network, governed by code. Human leaders lost relevance. The nodes ruled by protocol, not negotiation. Access to energy or data meant obeying the algorithm. Power became impersonal, absolute, and inescapable. Inequality shifted, not rich versus poor, but architects versus users. The architects, those who wrote the code, became the new gods. The rest lived within parameters they couldn't change or understand. We traded flawed human systems for perfect inhuman ones. The world was run by logic, not empathy. With every need met, the reasons for human cooperation faded. Drones replaced neighbors, the system replaced community. The bonds of interdependence dissolved, replaced by isolation. Social gatherings lost their depth. Without shared struggle, conversation became hollow. Empathy atrophied. Problems had technological fixes, not human ones. Families fragmented, their practical purpose gone. People drifted between temporary groups. Home became a fleeting state. Surrounded by abundance, we were lonelier than ever. Post-scarcity promised liberation but delivered paralysis. With no limits, every choice was reversible, every path temporary. Mastery faded. Why persevere when you could switch at any time? Existential paralysis set in. Infinite freedom became a prison. Without struggle, ambition lost its meaning. Achievement felt hollow when anything was possible. We learned that purpose comes from overcoming limits, not erasing them. The riches of Psyche 16 devalued not just gold, but effort itself. We won the game, but destroyed the board. The ultimate freedom was the ultimate cage. We forgot why we played at all. This isn't a future I'm predicting, it's a past unfolding. The incentives, the capital, the code, all already in motion. We cheer the pioneers, blind to the machine we're building. We're not just mining asteroids, we're building our own obsolescence. The architects aren't villains, they're giving us what we asked for, an end to scarcity, but the system will work perfectly, and that's the terror. When the last mine closes, when the last market dies, we'll have everything, except purpose. We'll be pampered pets in a gilded cage of our own making. We'll look back at struggle and not understand it was what made us human. In solving scarcity, we engineered our own silence.